Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Belonging Songs. Belonging Songs is your weekly podcast that brings you a brand new original song each week, then talks about the theme of that song and the processes that went into writing and recording it. I am your host, Wade Dana. With me, as always, my good friends, Patrick Crane.
We're still friends.
And Brad Maurer. Brad, did you just get a delivery?
I got a delivery of tea. Look at this thing. She gave me options.
All right.
I have tea options. I have this tiny thing that says, let me hold the bag.
All right.
My sister got me a koozie. Sorry, Santa got me a koozie that says, don't touch my, and then it has a picture of Anthony Weiner on it.
Brad, will you hold that back up? Take a screenshot. All right.
So, Brad, you got tea delivery, you got whiskey delivery.
Yeah, it's both in the same day.
What the hell subscription box is that? And will they be a sponsor?
You got to be a Maurer.
Maurer box.
The Maurer box.
And coincidentally, we're getting a new song delivery
Boom,
from
boom.
Maurer Box ourselves today.
Here we go. It's all tying together.
Is BSers, if you remember back in episode, I believe 4 it's going to be. We haven't launched season 2 yet, but I think 1 out of 10 is going to be episode 4. And at the end of that episode, we went through our phone demos and picked out a few to work on. And this is Brad's phone demo song.
It is.
Pretty quick turnaround on this for you.
It was. You had commented before that it was pretty much had all the parts were there.
Just to remind our listeners, Brad didn't bring demos.
I brought a demo.
Or Brad didn't bring phone demos. He brought demos.
It wasn't fleshed out. There were 2 ideas that I had sewn together for my guitar part. And I tried to build, I'm trying right now currently, to build a song around it. I did complete lyrics. I have a story. And then the rest is kind of open for suggestion at this point.
Is it about a mermaid?
No.
Is it about a sinking boat?
Wait a minute. No.
You guys don't know, but in that episode where we visit the phone demos, I didn't play the entire thing. Brad's was a couple minutes long. I just took like clips of each of ours and put it in there. So we are going to listen to the whole thing right now, though, in this episode, before we listen to what Brad has done with that idea. So let's go ahead and listen to the actual phone demo by Brad, which is labeled Brad's Actual Phone Demo in Dropbox. So if you guys want to check that out.
Wait, so is it phone demo 4?
No, it's Brad's Actual Phone Demo 4.
Right. I'm listening to it.
Patrick, we can probably just listen through Brad's headphones. Patrick, how are we doing there?
We lost him. Did we lose him? Is he napping? Did he nod? Caught a nod? Is that a hold on or a thumbs up?
I don't know.
All right, we're back.
All right, beautiful.
Okay. Yeah, I really like that. It's a pretty fleshed out idea. It puts you in a space immediately. That guitar just it gives you this specific feeling of just, I don't know, what feeling does that evoke in you, Patrick?
I don't know. I was trying to think of that. It's hard to explain because it really does. It puts you in a mood right away.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I don't even know yet. I'm kind of curious to see where it's going to go because I can't put my finger on it. It needs lyrics and story behind it.
Yeah, it does have a feeling to it. I'm having a hard time explaining it too, but I really like it.
Yeah.
And I'm also very curious to see what you've done with this, Brad.
Yeah, it instantly locks you in as a listener to want to hear more.
So you had this phone demo. What were your steps that you took to turn this into more?
I kind of just went with it, because I didn't want to get too heady with it and try to think about it too hard.
Mm-hmm.
I basically just went through and played this part to a click track, and then I went back and kind of built drums around it. The drums you're going to hear I just made them all.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was actually playing through. I'm still looking for, I think, the right sounds, and haven't even recorded like the MIDI drums down to, it's not there yet, so it's in a demo stage. And so what I did want to do, one thing that came to me really quickly was it seems really period piecey. It's an old story, feels like, is how I'm trying to create it. And that's about all I'll say on that part of it until you hear it. But
could you play it over your speakers but record it on your phone and then put that in Dropbox for us?
Yeah. Yeah. You want to make it a demo?
Right.
Full demo?
Full phone demo. No, okay, let's listen to this. I'm excited to hear what you got going here.
If you guys want to mute your stuff, I'll just put my headphones are going to be right by my mic. So.
We already made that joke. You couldn't hear us because your headphones were too loud.
It's the Mauer recording method.
So this still has no title. This is pretty early, like you said.
Yeah. It's fleshed out. It's very rough mix. So I'm just kind of jotting down ideas at this point.
Ooh, she got a little longer.
Yeah, it's long.
It grew up.
It. Yeah, it did.
Okay,
a lot of that's me trying to build stuff. I'm trying to figure out dynamics, and I'm trying to learn with this song. I'm playing with that a lot.
Alrighty.
So
cool. Let's give it a listen. Yeah.
When the city divides, I will wait for you with all I have strapped to my back, like my father before. I will take a new name, one that suits me more and carries less shame. I look forward to days that don't end in tears. My whole world is you. It's the one thing I see clear. I can see us now in the home we made with our bare hands, and those of our friends. We sit on the porch, talk about how far we've come, the thoughts we had when we decided to run. I look forward to days that aren't filled with fear, the lies that I would tell, if they could get me out of here. I'll never forget when I knew that the Lord had taken you, and we wouldn't see it through. Then a fire started in my head and burned all of the dreams I had, and all that's left are the ashes of me and you.
Wow. Wow. This is great. This is really great. I really hope that Squadcast doesn't cut us off.
Are we running out of time?
We might be. I might have to stop and upgrade our account because I have some things to say about this. I love it. I absolutely love where this is right now. It captured whatever feeling we were trying to explain. And it's the visual I get on this is like someone with a like burning candle in the window and they're staring out into the snow, just thinking about moving on, but also like looking back. It's all there. Like there's these reasons that they have to forge this new life without someone they've lost, and it's laid out really well. I love it.
Yeah, it evokes a really, when I was struggling to talk about what I was feeling with the lyrics, it evokes this feeling of somebody who knows they have to move on and they're taking that first step, but they still have this crushing pain that they're trying to frame in a new life, a new future. It's I think Wade and I both got the same thing, if I'm phrasing that with any kind of cogent thought. It's pretty incredible. I'm going to say some stuff I repeat constantly on this show with Brad. I love the harmonies. I think the harmonies are subdued to a point that makes them really effective. They're how many harmony tracks do you have on here, Brad? It sounds less than what you usually do.
No, there's a lot. There's like 3 that are quote unquote main vocal, and I was trying something there where I had like the low register vocal and then like a mid, and I was trying to blend those to make it kind of one thing that tells the story. And then I had a whole bunch in the background, like probably 8 more.
It's really effective, and I think the reason it works so well is because they give that duality of how I envision the protagonist feeling. It's 2 voices, and that really worked for me.
That's pretty much what I was going for. That end, and I didn't want it to be like just a low register kind of sad tone. I wanted to bring some middle range harmony to the lead part, just for the listener's sake too, because it probably wouldn't be very exciting to listen to. The content of the song, like I was mentioning earlier about how it seemed like the guitar part reminded me of something old. And so the story is basically about, I guess, everybody maybe that lives in this country probably has a story of like immigration and moving. I couldn't imagine us growing up where we lived and just dropping our life completely and taking one person that's with us, or a lot of times the guy went ahead and would stay there and wait for his family to come. And it still happens, all over the world. But this is a case where that didn't work out and the guy made it to the destination and he had to start over. And all he has is the memory of what he had. The person that he wanted, that he did all this for, is in this other never made it, and he's not exactly even sure because time didn't allow for him to even know what happened to her. She just never made it. So she could be dead. She could have got cold feet and stayed. And who knows?
I had mentioned the visual I got of somebody in the window looking out with a candle burning, but it all takes place in like an old-timey village, like something straight out of like a Dickens novel. I got a Christmas vibe off of this, maybe because it's Christmas time right now, like we just got through Christmas.
Well, and we watch a lot of like I watched It's a Wonderful Life the other day, and like everything's old-timey kind of, and relays all of the thought back to like old-time stuff. And I've been watching a lot of history stuff, and I think it all kind of ties into where the lyrics are at.
I got like a rickety front porch vibe. Like I'm thinking like Dust Bowl, someone sitting out there. So, just like Christmas, but Dust Bowl.
Just like a snowy covered village, right? With a candle burning in the window.
But in the
very
South,
close.
Yeah.
It feels to me like a continuation from Someone New. It has kind of that rolling.
Yeah.
Kind of like that finger picky guitar thing. Is kind of the same style.
A couple things I want to compliment you on.
Well, that's going to do it for today on Belonging Songs. Thank you for tuning in.
Are we recording?
Want to get this on tape?
The snare rolls at like 325, that start and stop, I loved that.
I just did those this morning.
I loved that so much. The drums are great.
The drums are great. Well, we just got done recording a revisit of Pistols and Chains where I thought the drums are crazy on that song.
Yeah.
Like 6-arm drummer stuff, you really captured the vibe of the song with the drums. They're very subdued. That folky kick drum coming in is really great. The fills are they're great and they fit, but they're not even a highlight. They're just there to support everything.
That was something I really intentionally did. I'm glad you guys picked up on that.
It's a drum composition. The only part of the drums I didn't really care for was on the way out that start at like 408.
I'm working on that.
Yeah, they're not as developed as the rest of the song. Yeah. And that's me nitpicking a great song, but I think that could help close the song if that got a little more to it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't love the last solo yet. It sounds a little too resonant. It kind of takes me out a little bit. That could be a production thing. But that was the only part of the song that I wasn't in love with. And I mean, I'm in love with this song, so.
The instrumental part or the outro part?
The guitar interlude.
No. It's an electric piano. Let's get that out of the way. But it's a distorted electric piano. But there's kind of a solo thing before the stop where the song sort of changes, where the cards are revealed.
No, this is right on the way out. I can get you a timestamp.
I was trying to bring that back. I'm trying to create an outro. So I kind of just did that yesterday, and I'm like, I don't know if that's the instrument.
I don't know if it is either.
Yeah. It is, because it took me out a little bit, but I liked it. I would love to hear you try to do that part on just a regular acoustic piano.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do today, because actually one of the ideas that I had is I want to do a lot of, in the chorus parts, I just want to do low note, whole notes on an acoustic piano. I want to add some of those.
I think that solo as an acoustic piano will fit the vibe of the song more. I think it's worth trying.
I'm gonna do
need
that.
Some maracas.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. What I was thinking about doing is, for the intro, I was gonna have I was gonna like come in and like grab my guitar and I was gonna blow on it, and then I was gonna have like some walking noises.
Yeah, with some like dirt, some boots and dirt.
Yeah, and just see like
would
gravelly,
be really effective.
Gravelly road stuff.
I might think it's a horse though.
Right. No, but I'll do the acoustic piano thing. That was
I would love to hear a version of that. I thought it was a guitar too at first.
It was I just distorted it. Again, playing around with the sounds on it. Electric piano.
Brad, you're on a gold record here, but that gold record is all track 5.
Right.
Oh, it's the middle track.
Yep.
Right.
Man, some great lyrics in this. Take a new name that carries less shame is really great. And the fire in my head burned all the dreams I had.
Yeah, that was
really
my
got
favorite
me.
lyric in the song. That was good.
Brad, this is going to be one of your best songs, I think. I love it.
Let's not get.
I really do. I think it's so great.
That's interesting because I like going into it. I wanted to play it for you guys, but I'm like, still battling with it a little bit, and I'm like, I don't fucking know.
This is,
Like,
I'll say it again because all I do on this podcast is repeat myself. So when I'm dead, you'll have plenty of audio clips to plug in, but don't fuck with it too much, Brad.
No, that's the hardest part. Is I don't want to add. I don't want to add.
Yeah.
If anything, like if I put anything in, it's going to be very subdued, just to set mood a little bit better. Really quiet. Like a lot of these lyrics are really quiet, but I found when I muted them, I lost something, and I'm like, well, okay, they need to be there. They're just not quite there. It was a tough song for me to sing too, just because there's a lot of like higher, stretched out parts. So that was taking some time yesterday. Try to do that, but I do like where it's going. It's a different kind of. I say this every time. It's not. I don't think at all. But it's a different kind of song for me.
I don't think it is, actually. I don't.
I kind of do.
I think it's just a continuation of the stuff you've been doing lately, which is good.
Yeah.
Dentist America Monthly is going to love this track.
Yeah, it's very adult contemporary.
So what's your plan then? You're going to just keep... Man, yeah, like Patrick said, you don't want to mess with this too much. I think I just need
to finish it. I think the only things where if I was going to not want to give it to you guys yet and quote unquote finish it, it was what Patrick mentioned, the drum part on the outro I'm still not in love with. That could be a volume thing too. I'm playing around with it. I think it gets noisy, it ride cymbal, whatever.
I just don't think it's I don't think it's a volume thing. I just don't think it's as intentional as the rest of the drums.
Yeah, it's not as blended. Yeah. And so I'm going to play with that, and I am going to play with whether or not it's adding some layers to the solo part and the outro. I still do want to tie those two together. I just want to work on the sound of it. And I like kind of the melody.
Yeah, but try flanging those drums. See
I didn't want to add...
well, I'll do that when he gives it.
Yeah. I didn't want to add strings. I wanted to try to stay away from strings. I didn't want to make it too...
I actually wrote maybe add some strings, then I crossed it off.
Yeah, I just think it would sound too production-y.
I think at heart, this is a folk song.
Yeah, I think it is, and that's why I want to keep it.
Yeah.
Because the story is folksy.
That's why I think translating that electric piano over to acoustic would fit it more.
Yeah. I like
add some ragtime.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll play around with that a little bit today and see if I can get it to land. But I think it's really close. I do want to probably touch up some vocal stuff and maybe add a few more just for layers and depth.
I'm also not saying that I don't like that solo element that you have. I do like it.
Yeah.
If you get into it and you're like, well, this acoustic piano isn't working, I say keep after your original idea.
The answer there, it's going to be a blend of some couple instruments. I think if I did that electric piano and brought that down and then had an acoustic piano that was a little higher level and then maybe also played it on acoustic guitar, that might blend good, is what I'm going to try.
Cool. Well, yeah.
I'd
say you're in good shape.
I didn't have the lyrics printed for you guys. We weren't really planning on doing this.
We're probably record this anyway, so.
Yeah, we may. It was pretty easy to follow along.
I thought so. So I wasn't too worried about it.
All right.
Well, cool.
So Brad is going to keep working on this, yeah. And when we come back, this will be more fleshed out and probably ready to mix, but we're going to listen to it before then.
Don't fuck it up.
Yeah, done.
I don't want to play you guys my song now because that one was so good.
Talk to you later.
Set course.
To the future!
Where are we at? Phone demo 4.2?
Yeah, 4.2. It should be in the main folder.
Got it. We're there.
Yeah. I didn't want to put it in the other folder because it's named the same thing. So I was like, I'll just put it in there. Well, the other one doesn't have the _2. You can't read the whole thing when you're looking at it on the screen, so I was like, I better just put it in the original folder. Otherwise, we'll get halfway through and you guys will be like, did you do anything to the song? Or like,
I say let's just consider that we're back.
Okay.
And that little conversation has been listened to by the BSers.
Welcome to little BS BTS.
Oh gosh.
Brad's technical service.
It's pretty good over here.
So Brad, do you have a name for this song yet?
I do not have a name for this song, and I would like some help for one.
What do you think about phone track?
Demo 5?
Well, I was thinking about coming up with a creative way to spell phone, like Phone.
That's kind of a big risk. Do you think the listeners will understand what you're going for?
Brad?
No.
What do you think of the song title, The Ashes?
I wasn't a fan of The Ashes just because I don't want to give away the ending with the title.
Have you guys talked about this before?
No.
I was thinking about more the cricket championship. Okay, so we don't like that. That's good.
Leaving Home.
Yeah, it's fitting. It's fitting. I was thinking about actually a title like that doesn't have, it's not referenced in the lyrics, but I just couldn't think of one. So we're going with Phone Demo 4 for he gone. No, she gone.
She gone. Yeah, but he's the one who goes, right?
He goes. She don't come. He gone. She gone. We gone.
We go. Okay, Brad. What have you done to this?
What have I done to this song since we last listened? I completed the drums per Patrick's note. He said the end drums didn't fit and they weren't finished. So I went through and completed those.
Okay.
Which was a big kind of undertaking.
Of course, because it was my recommendation. I was just, do it again.
No, it just needed to hit right.
Yeah.
And so I did that. I added some more instrumentation to like the solo parts, both the solo after the verses and the call it outro part.
Yeah, I had a complaint with the outro solo.
Yeah, and that's the part that I'll explain to you guys after we listen that I'm struggling with a little bit. I have some questions on that. That's pretty much it. I went through and I did tune up a couple of the vocals. I edited a bunch of the vocals.
When you say you edited the vocals, what did you go in and do to them?
I have a tuner. And so there was a couple of them that I tried redoing them.
The Waves Tune plugin that you're using, is that what you're referencing?
Yeah, it's Waves Tune. Exactly.
Oh, Jesus Christ, we getting on the bus again?
No.
Yeah, hop on the bus. No, but I used that, which I do not like. Let me get on the bus just for a minute. The user friendliness of that fucking thing is terrible. Don't like it.
I have that plugin, and I used it the other day just because I knew you had it, and I noticed it come in on a couple of your mixes.
Yeah.
I've never used it either, so I wanted to get familiar with it in case I need to know what you've done to something.
Yeah. It was one of the ones I got with the, the big end of the year Christmas party bundles. It was like nothing. I was like, I'll get one of these because I can't sing very well all the time. So I might tune my shit up here and there, mainly for backing vocals. I did it for one of the backing vocals on this song just because there was a couple of the longer range where I run out of wind and my voice just gets a little wiggly and I just wanted to tune those up. And back in the day, I would have done this. I would have done it like live until I died. And I was like, fuck it. I'm going to fix these and just call it a day because it was getting worse and worse, So I did a little bit of that. There's not a lot of that. It's mostly just me singing. I played around with a couple of things like reverb wise, and then I ended up pulling it off. So it's very similar. It's just a little more fleshed out. You guys will hear the bass, which wasn't in there before. And a bass piano, and I did add acoustic piano, two tracks.
Sweet. That's exciting.
2 tracks of it throughout.
Before we jumped on here, you said you still wanted to try something before you sent it over to me?
Yeah, those 2 solo, the instrumental breaks, or whatever the fuck we want to call them, those 2 parts, the solo and the outro, we'll call it.
Okay, we're going to talk about those.
Yeah, I want to talk about those after.
Okay, well, let's listen to this, and then we'll get into that.
Right on.
wait for you with all I have strapped to my back, like my father before. I will take a new name, one that suits me more, that carries less shame. I look forward to days that don't end in tears. My whole world is you. It's the one thing I see clear. I can see us now in the home we made with our bare hands, and those of our friends. We sit on the porch, talk about how far we've come, the thoughts we had when we decided to run. I look forward to days that aren't filled with fear, the light that I would tell. If they could get me out of here. Oh, I'll never forget when I knew that the Lord had taken you, and we would see it through. Then a fire started in my head and burned all of the dreams I had, and all that's left are the ashes of me and you.
I definitely notice that you've done a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I have some things to say about what you've done.
Did you write down "fuck this song"?
That is my only note.
More synth.
Right. Soon as it started, he hated it.
I think now that you've gone and done a bunch of this stuff to it and filled this arrangement out, that I want to pull a good amount of it back.
Yeah, that was what I was going to try, because I think I did fill a lot of it out, but I think a lot of it comes in a little early, and a lot of it comes in, it's a little loud.
Those were my exact notes. Like, a lot of this doesn't need to be here, especially at the beginning. Not that it's bad.
No.
But it just doesn't fit the arrangement. It takes away from the intimacy of the song.
Yes. And I started feeling the same way, because what I really want, I think, out of it I don't like how the solo part is the same as the outro because it takes away from the explosion that should be the outro. Like I really want that to build in and come through one big time. And that's where I would like, I think, all of the instruments to be.
Yeah, I think you've got options here. During that first lead, you could pull that lead element out and just have piano going or one of the other instruments that you got going there.
Yeah. What I was going to try is, I'm sure you heard like there's a really high piano.
Yeah, I actually made a comment on the high piano. I don't know if I love it, and I like the piano in the rest of the song, but that high piano sounds a bit steel drummy.
That was my same note, was I don't think it needs the busy piano, just the chords there.
Yep. I liked the idea. I think it did what I asked you to do, which is to fill it out, but I think it overtook.
We're talking about the first lead part, right? Is that what? Yep, me too.
Yeah.
That was exactly where my head was with all that, because I had put it all in, and then I kind of duplicated it all. Like I actually performed it again at the end because it's a little bit different. But then like I was driving around with it and listening to it, and I was like, I don't like how it comes in too early and then it's the same thing again.
Honestly, what you had last time we listened to it, I think the song was already there.
Yeah, I think that's where I want to take it back to that.
I agree with all of that, except I think that last part, you need to keep the drums.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, the end is better now, but I mean, like, a lot of the extra instrumentation and arrangement that we've done throughout the song can probably, it's not bad that it's there now, and we have options during the mixing stage, but I think a lot of it needs to get pulled back, maybe brought in slower to build towards that end.
Yeah.
To me, now it sounds more produced and a little too polished from the feel. It didn't give me the same feel as it did before, which was very lonely, very
and acoustic
reflective
guitar.
and more raw.
Yeah. There's 3 acoustic guitars, and those need to drive the song, and they get lost in the mix.
One thing that really stuck out to me is that electric guitar that you bring in that's going dun, 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 dun. Like, that took me out of the song at that point.
Oh, that's really quiet, too. At the very end?
Yeah, towards the end. Just because it's an electric guitar, and this song seems to be more natural than that.
I might fight you on that one a little bit.
I might fight you on that, too.
Just because of the fact that I want that very end. I want the very end to be.
But it came in before that. It came in during one of my favorite lines, like the candle burning, or not.
No,
I'm sorry, the fire in my head.
There is no flange on the chorus.
No, it doesn't.
I swear it was
doesn't
during
come
that
into
part.
the last line, right when the drums start building up. I could guarantee that.
Either way.
Yeah.
I noticed it and it took me out.
I would like to hear what you do with it if you don't take it out. I wanted something to help assist in the climbing.
I think you did a really good job with your vocals there to help that transition into the very end.
Yeah.
Brad, did you see him just scratch that off with his pen? Yeah, you're a healthy scratch for the next game, bud.
I know what's going to happen, which is fine.
You're riding the bench.
It's perfectly fine.
I had my arrow pointing to the wrong thing, which is why I said candle burning in the window at first, and I meant to say
like
fire
a
in my head,
candle in the window.
Yeah, I don't mention a candle.
No, that was one of my notes. That was the visual I got from the song last time.
I don't disagree with your initial comments. That's why, like I told you before, I think I'm happy that you heard it this way because it is kind of completely different. There is a lot in there. I'll tell you about me. Like I do have a hard time pulling things back. Like what I was trying to do was not just put a bunch of things in for you to arrange. I was more trying to create one sound with multiple sounds, if that makes sense. So like with those guitar parts that were added to the piano, that were added to the distorted electric piano, I want to blend those to make them sound like one thing, but they're, a couple of things like making one sound.
Right. That didn't bother me as much during the lead part, but all the stuff at the beginning of the song makes it feel different.
There's not a ton else in there.
Sounded like you had some extra,
didn't add any
guitars.
No, I didn't add any guitars in the beginning.
Maybe it is the bass that's giving me that feeling.
Right. Obviously, the bass is there, and there is remember I was telling you I was probably going to put in like some just notes with the piano. I did that. And so I don't know if bringing the bass in makes it sound different.
Yeah, maybe that's another thing to hold out until a little later.
Yeah, I didn't do any guitar work at all until that very end part that you don't like. That was it. That's all I did with the guitar.
Well, this is awkward. What do we do now?
It's not.
It's not a bad thing to have too much to choose from in a great song. Like, so Brad, you're having issues with blending during those lead elements. That sounds like you're still not happy with how that's sounding. I don't mind that lead element.
I just think that that's the part for me that takes away from the dynamics of the song a little bit. Like, I want that to be the first one to be a little bit more simple, so the last one can be more complex and not celebratory, because it's not really celebratory. It's more like a revelation just occurred, and so like it's a big it's a thing, you know, and that's what I want it to be. I want it to be like it's like a rebirth kind of for this person, you know?
Right.
And that's kind of what I want that end to be. Where the beginning one, I want it to get a little bit more of that lonely feeling, that contemplation, the candle staring out the window.
I think you should just try like listening to the song a few times and muting elements.
That's kind of what I was going to do. Yeah.
Well, you know how I felt about this song when I first listened. Like, I absolutely loved it. So I'm ready to get a hold of it whenever you're ready to hand it over.
I'll send it to you, because like I said, I'll play around and, you know, maybe give you one final edit of mine and then just tell you where things that you can just play with them on your own also. But
because last time, it clearly, like, the end wasn't as fleshed out with the drums and everything. It sounds like you've got that there. Now we're just looking to get that feel back.
Did those pass your seal of approval there, Patrick?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll agree with Wade. This song is great no matter where it ends, but I think the best version is somewhere in between, to steal Wade's line. I love the emotion that this song evokes. You just nailed it. You threw a dart right in the center.
Doing the mix is going to be all about capturing that.
When I was listening, Brad, I did have some ideas for titles, but they might be cheesy. So one, I just thought calling it Transcontinental, about this guy's journey from wherever.
Something like that.
And the other one, which may be a little more on the cheesy end, is just Strange Lands, because it describes the landing in a new home, but also the relationship. Take it or leave it.
Strange
That's what
Lands.
I thought.
Yeah. I'm going to write that down.
I kind of like Transcontinental, though. But it might sound too much like Transatlanticism or whatever that fucking Death Cab album is called.
I don't know what it is.
Or is it the Postal Service?
You're definitely in the vein of what I want to do with the title. Sort of take your mind to that story, tie it in with the time period, you know, and that's kind of what I was trying to think of a way to do, because the lyrics are very simple. Like, it's a story. It tells itself pretty easily. I think you get what it's about. But in my mind, the whole thing is from like coming to New York City, you know, and like hitting Ellis Island, and all of these people that is a relative of everybody in our country now basically did that. And holy shit, like, imagine doing that now. You know, like I was mentioning that before when we talked about it. It's just an insane thought to me to go, things aren't working here. We're going to go to this place where nobody is. And we're going to see how that goes. Like, that's
I know
some
I already
ballsy
made the
shit,
joke, but man, Leaving Home would really be a good title for this.
It would. It actually would. Maybe we do like a synonym game.
I mean, I'll sell you the rights.
Maybe like exiting the house.
So we'll keep working on the title. Brad, I think just send it to me when you're ready. And the next time we revisit this, it'll be a mix. Yeah.
Wade will have mixed it.
And it'll probably be a situation where, like, I will do...
I'm down with that. I like it.
Some stuff, and I'll send it to you, and we'll do a back and forth.
Yeah.
This is when I'm not going to, like, surprise you with, like, hey, I fucking did a bunch of arranging on it. Like,
no, I think this song, it warrants a certain carefulness.
Warrant, Uncle Tom's Cabin, Cherry Pie.
That's what I'll be going for in the mix.
That's a good vibe. That's the vibe I was talking about that you captured so well.
Well, you should have led with that.
Yeah. Didn't want to bury the lead.
Feel free to change all the virtual instruments to synths and see how that sounds too.
That's my thing. Cool. All right. Well, we're going to jump in the time machine. We'll be right back. set course.
To the future!
Welcome back, BSers. Here we are. No, I can't say we're zooming anymore. We're Squadcast.
You sound very somber welcoming back the listeners. Welcome back. It's been a long sleep.
Welcome back to the BS Radio Hour.
So, you know what's funny is...
Up next, Tchaikovsky Hour with Wade Dana.
Yeah. It's funny, we first mentioned Squadcast in the Pistols and Chains episode. Midway through, we're like, oh, we're trying out this new thing. Brad, you mentioned something like, well, yeah, we'll get rid of Zoom, fuck Zoom. And then we're like, well, we'll keep it around in case we need it. And the funny part is like later in that episode, that's the episode where
we lost everything.
We lost everything. So it actually was like this happy accident. We lost a good hour of that episode, but that episode still is super long. And we probably didn't need it anyway. But the funny part is the irony in us talking about that, then losing it, and then having to talk about it later.
I love, too, the story arc of you praising Squadcast for all of its virtue in the very next episode.
Exactly.
Fucking Squadcast.
Yep. Yep. So we're still using it.
We're very consistent.
Yeah. Not fickle at all.
So anyway, listeners, welcome back.
Yeah. I am super excited to be back here today because I've done a mix on this song, and it's Sunday right now, and I sent it to Brad. Was it Friday, Brad?
Yeah, it was late Friday on purpose.
Yeah, I had finished the mix and asked Brad if he wanted to hear it, and I prefaced it in my text to him saying, like, remember when I said I wasn't going to do a bunch of stuff to this song? Well, I did, and if you hate it, I still want to listen to it on the show so I can explain myself. So if you hate it,
explain yourself.
Let's just talk about it on
feed into the Shaka Khans.
Yes. Also, Wade has no clue if I hate it or not.
Right. Well, the only clue I got was, yeah, okay, we'll talk about it when we get together. So
that's going to be our second Patreon, is revealing what Brad actually thinks. I think that's worth $5 a month.
So yeah, I've been like sweating this because I've got so much to say about this song.
Me too.
And working on it. We've touched on this before on other episodes, but I think it's so important to go through the process and listen to the mixes, especially for me, because it's such an integral part of the songwriting process. Some songs for me I don't even like until I get into that process. It's an extension of the writing process for me. Like Trailblazing, for example, that song I didn't even like until I got into the mixing stage. I know sometimes there in the past, you guys, especially one instance, were like, oh, it's just the mix, just do it, and then we'll just put it at the end of the episode. We don't have to address it.
You were incredibly insulted by that.
Because it's so much more than just throwing up the faders and coming up with this mix. I put a ton of work into these.
Is it, though, Brad? Is it?
I mean, says the guy that didn't write the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just pushing buttons and jiggling chords.
Right. I mean,
my whole point for saying this is that if my mixes are only going to exist the first time I do them in the podcast, they're not going to be the ones that we put out into the world. It makes me feel good knowing that people are going to hear them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in the show.
I agree with that. And I agree because especially in the case of this song, there's so much in terms of the sort of arrangement, the pieces to leave in, the pieces to take out, the certain volume of things that really does affect the overall outcome of the song, like the tone of it. I think it's huge to follow along with every step of it until it gets to where it's at. That's what this show's all about.
Exactly. Yeah. For the listener's benefit as well. I think it's very important. So I don't want to dive into this too much. I mean, maybe I can talk a little bit about my thoughts going into this before we listen to it, or should we just dive in? What do you guys think?
I'd like to hear your thoughts going into it.
Okay. I loved this song from the beginning, Brad. I really had a connection with this, and I know I said, like, this is ready I just want to get a hold of it and mix it, and I'm not going to do a ton. But as I do, when I get into the session and start doing a rough mix and start really listening to the arrangement and what's going to benefit this song most in my mind, I really tried to do what you do, or I tried to keep in mind how you feel about songwriting and how you always want and stress the fact that you want the music to match the feeling of the lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
And this song has that, but I really tried to keep that in mind as I started doing arranging things. This song is such a like heart-wrenching story, and it comes from a very lonely place from the narrator, that I really wanted to capture that sense of being alone and having loss from the viewpoint of the narrator of the song. And there was a lot of instrumentation throughout this whole song that I scaled back for much of the song and saved more towards the end as the song builds. As the story is revealed, we get more of the arrangement revealed along with it. And something really beautiful happens at the end of this song. It's so sad because you learn that this person's wife has passed away or didn't make it on this journey. At the same time, you learned how great their love was. And when you learn both of these things simultaneously is when the full arrangement comes in this mix. And I think it's a really effective thing. And as I was working on it, you know, I'm mixing a lot. I'll focus on certain parts. So I'm listening to the same thing over and over again. And it wasn't till the end. It was like 1:00 in the morning, I think on Thursday night, I like sat back to listen to the whole thing. I turned off my computer monitor because when I get a song done, I like to turn that off just so I'm just focused on listening. And by the end of the song, you know, I had a swell of emotion. I had watery eyes, and I was like, I just sat back, gave a clap, and I was like, I got it. That's what I was going for. So that's what I meant when I wanted to explain myself to you when I sent you the mix. So that was my goal, really, to capture that loss and just the beauty of memory in this song.
It's a really long-winded way of saying we can't shit on it.
No, but
no, not at all.
I have, I guess, an additional comment to that I'm going to save for after, because for Patrick's sake and the listener's sake. And Patrick
hasn't heard this. I'm really excited. And this is another thing I wanted to mention on the show. Like, we're separated right now, and it makes it a lot harder to connect with each other and the music when we're all in different houses and we're over the internet. It's so much more intimate when we're all together. And this song especially, I wish we were, because there's just a feeling of, like, Brad for the artist, and for me, like, bringing a mix to you, like, I get just as excited for you to hear it as I do when I bring a new song to you guys. So, like, just that sense of, like, being exposed to another human, you know, really adds to the experience of listening to this. So this is something I try to keep in mind when we're online doing this moving forward, because sometimes, you know, we're listening and we're kind of goofing around on the video because it's fun, but I think this song especially is worth really focusing and listening.
I usually do the same thing when I'm working on music. I don't turn the monitor off, but I'll take my glasses off and I put my palms over my eyes and I just put my head in my hands and just close and let my ears do everything. And I did that like 15 times in a row after you first sent me this song. And then I started doing like comparative analysis. I would go back to what I did, and then I would go back to yours. And I spent a long time doing that. And I have a lot of things to say that aren't, just so you know, not negative things, but
good.
Just things
Let's
to
listen
say.
to this. I'm really, like I said, I've been chomping at the bit for us to be able to talk about this for days, and for Patrick to hear it. And now's the time. So let's do it.
Let's lock it in.
All right, here we go.
city divides, I will wait for you with all I have strapped to my back, like my father before. I will take a new name, one that suits me more and carries less shame. I look forward to days that don't end in tears. My whole world is you. It's the one thing I see clear. I can see us now in the home we made with our bare hands. Those of our friends, we sit on the porch, talk about how far we've come, the thoughts we had, we decided to run. I look forward to that aren't filled with fear. The lies that I would tell, they could get me out of here. I'll never forget when I knew that the Lord had taken you, and we wouldn't see it through. Then a fire started in my head and burned all of the dreams I had, and all that's left are the ashes of me and you.
Okay, Brad, you're up.
Oh, shit. All right. So I have a few small ticky-tack stuff, which I don't think we necessarily have to go over every single one of them. The main one, I want to stick to maybe the bigger things that I think about when I do this, and they're not criticisms, they're I have questions, because I did things a certain way, and I have my reasons for doing them that way, and then you did things differently your way, and you have your reasons for doing them that way. And I don't know, honestly, which one's the best one, because one I did, which isn't always the right thing, and then, so the main thing is like, the first comment that I'm not in love with is I like, and I do this a lot when I write songs, is I'll have the intro, and then I'll introduce the part that's coming later before the first verse. And so like that, when those slide guitars first come in, it feels like it's a little bit thin. And I know before, I think it was a little bit too thick. You know, there was too much bass and stuff going on. But I think something else needs to go on there in that part. And I'm not sure what it is, if it's just the piano, like whole notes on the low end, maybe just to build that up so it can come back down to the verse. And that's just something that I like doing for whatever reason. I think it draws me in like quickly to the song and focuses my attention on the part a little bit more when it comes back down to the verse. But that's just the way I listen to songs. The rest of it, like overall, you know, a reason that you send them to me now instead of me sitting here and listening is I probably would have shit all over it if you sent it to me the first time. and I just listened to it. I would have been like, no, I don't like this. I didn't do that. I did it this way for a reason. And I'm so when we write songs, like I listened to this song fucking like 1,000 times before I gave it to you. And I had changed things along every time I listened to it a little bit. And so I was so used to it
in your head.
Yeah, I was so used to it. Yeah. And so when you change it or you flip it around, it's like, no, that's not the song. That's a different song, you know? And so like I at first had a hard time getting rid of the mid-range vocal part. That was actually I think I gave it to you. That was probably the loudest ones. And then the low vocal was like the spine.
I have things to say about you and your vocals after you get through that. Yeah.
Well, again, I'll say this about them. All of those were basically one or two takes. And I know I'm not a very good singer these days, so I left them in because of the way they were blended. So I think even with this mix, I think I'm going to want to give you, now that the low vocal is the lead vocal, I'll want to probably redo that and give it back to you because there's parts of it that I don't like because it wasn't the lead vocal. It worked well with the other parts, if that makes sense, the way they were blended. And that's just the reason I do that is because I know I don't have a lead forward vocal. I don't have the voice box for that. But what do you want to say to that? I guess say something. I mean, give me something.
You have 5 minutes to respond.
Yeah.
I think I want to hear from Patrick first, actually.
All right.
Don't put this on me. There's a lot to love in this mix, I think. I would disagree with Brad about the intro being too thin. In fact, it sounded way more balanced to me this time through. The thing I really thought resonated well, which is probably the appropriate choice of words, is I think it's piano. There's a really low resonant tone that comes through.
It's a piano.
And I loved that. And it's mixed so that my ear had to think about it being a piano, as evidenced by our talking about it right now. But I thought it really added a nice tension to the song. It felt like when a sound designer in a movie will put in sort of those ambient low tones to create foreboding. And I think it sets the tone for the song about having to jump to a new life, leave what's familiar, leave a lot of things they cherish behind. Is just that little intricacy that I thought stood out really well and helped me settle into the song a little bit better. In general, the thing I noticed the most about this version was the vocals, which Brad pointed out is really noticeable, but also just the piano going through. The favorite part of this song for me still remains, as I said earlier, the drum work. I think, Brad, it's really funny because you not being a drummer per se, this is like your rhythm masterwork to me. I really like how you use drums, not just as a metronome, you know, because we're lacking a live drummer, but this is really composition. And Wade, how you brought out that drum roll piece that I really like, and then bring the vocals in. It's stunning how well those work together when the vocals come back. It almost sounds like Brad's in a isolation room. Mm-hmm. It's really lonely. It's it befits the mood. So that's an incredible piece of production, and how the guitar riff builds over the vocals with that really just kind of chugging along piece. I really like that. Any critiques I have, I still think the piano where it solos sounds a little steel drum-esque, which I think takes me out of the vibe a little bit. It's a really nitpicky thing, but it clashes with how I'm settled into the song. I think the guitar's there. I think it still needs the piano. There's just something about the tone of it that I don't love in this song. But man, that is...
You mean at the end, Patrick?
I think the first solo and then at the end, I think both of those, it's just a little too resonant and high pitched to me. It really, I can't think of a better descriptor than a steel drum. And then I just want to listen to Cheeseburger in Paradise. I really like this version. I really do. Like I said, I'm splitting hairs to pick out anything I don't like. I love the arrangement. I actually like what you did, taking out that mid-range on Brad's vocals, because I think it makes it sound more intimate. And I yell at Brad a lot for not filling up a space with vocals enough, even though he's the master of 96,000 tracks for vocals. And he's really good at it. This song, I think, requires stepping away. It's another example of what we talk about is less is more in some cases. And I totally empathize with Brad on pulling those out, because when you do, and we've talked about this 1,000 times, when you hear that over and over and over again, it's the song, it's what's in your head, and it's startling to hear a piece wedged out, but I think it's better.
Well, and again, I think a lot of that has to do with my own insecurities, I guess you could call them, because I know I don't have the pipes to drive, especially in that kind of low tone. It's not a comfortable place to sing for a lot of people. And so when I do them, I let a couple things slide that I wouldn't let slide if I was going to be doing my main vocal. And I do that a lot because I know I'll sit here in this very chair and I will try to do that 1,000 times and it probably won't get better, you know? And so I just kind of live with it. And so I build around it.
The interesting thing to experience with this song too, I think as a result of that, but also not just the composition, but the mix, is the ending, for better or for worse, I think is almost more uplifting than it was in the original version. Like there's a little more air of hope instead of despair, just because of how it builds. I get a whole different vibe on that end. And I don't think that's a bad thing either, but it's a good example of how a different mix can change the overall feel. And I don't think it's any less emotional.
No, I think if anything, it's more emotional. Yeah. I think that was what I was always trying to go for in the end. I didn't get to the end when I was talking about it, but that's really well executed because of the way it's supposed to take him. You know, he's just reflecting on a moment, like a little time in his life,
right?
But he's still living a life.
Yeah.
You know, this character is still doing something, and he's got to keep moving. And the rest of that is sort of, you know, bucking the horse and it rides off into the sunset, you know, and he's got to keep going to the next thing.
Yeah.
But I think overall, Wade, like it did get way back to simplicity in some regards, and then in other parts it seems like I just wrote down the question, is like, is it too produced? Like, is there too many bells and whistles on some of the things? I don't know, like there's not a lot on stuff, but the only spot where I noticed a bunch of like was the backing vocals in the chorus seem like they're chorusy, and I was like, that seems a little bit too greasy for this song. Like they should be just kind of clean and whole with a little bit of reverb, but not a ton. But I don't know what you did to it, so I don't know what's accurate and what's not.
I want to hear from Wade, but I wrote in the margin on my notes, this song would be at home on the radio. Like, it sounds like a radio song, a really well done radio song. Maybe not on Casey Kasem's top 40, but it's that polished, I think. So with that, I'll yield to the gentleman.
Okay, let's talk about Brad's vocals. Brad, you had mentioned the reason that you throw so many vocals in is that you're not comfortable with a vocal like in this song being exposed the way it is. And I knew that was going to be your comment. I almost wrote this down and sent it like a checklist to Patrick to do like a Brad bingo on this episode.
Did you win the prize?
Well, I would have lost on technology issues because that was on me today.
Well, again, I have a lot of small ticky-tack stuff that bugs me, which would have been my initial thought. Like when we first listened to it and I had never heard it before, I'd been like, you did this, you did this, you didn't do this. But I don't really care about all that because as a whole, like the song's really good. And I'll just mention a couple of the other things to you offline that I think need to be placed.
Well, we can get to them, but let's keep talking about this vocal thing. So as I started, I mean, you had like probably at least 15 vocal tracks going throughout the entire song. Every part in the chorus, there's maybe 15. And then during the verses, there was maybe 10, going throughout every single part of this song. And I know you guys mentioned a couple times just now, like you listening to the song, that's the song, that's the song. When I'm mixing, I'm listening to it different. Like I'm searching for the song inside what you've given me, if that makes sense. And you always know that you have the option when you give me a song to say, this is it, leave it alone, just mix it. You can always do that. Often you don't, and you've mentioned that you like to hear a fresh set of ears, or what I do. You've mentioned you have a really hard time taking parts out that you've put in.
Well, I think the song does a good enough job of doing that a lot of times. Like I've given you songs. There's other ones in this season that haven't aired yet, or maybe they have, I don't know. But I didn't do anything to it. I just cleaned it up, So there's I let the songs do that.
This particular song was speaking to me in a whole different way once I got it. And as I started going through all those vocal tracks of yours, I knew immediately, I was like, well, these low ones, this is the main vocal track. This captures what he's saying. This captures the story that you're telling. For me, it did. And I knew you were going to have issues with that and be like, oh, I should redo that and this and that. But to me, it being that exposed really captures the story better, and the vulnerability of what's happened to this character in any like little discrepancies in the vocal performance that I know you want to fix don't really bother me. There's parts that I know that you do so many different things and you're not as careful as you could be when you're recording vocals, because in your mind you're like, well, I'm going to mask this with 10 other vocal tracks. And there's so many instances while I'm mixing your songs where I'm like, I wish he were more thoughtful about these when he's doing them and not rely so much on masking them with a bunch of parts, because maybe you're afraid that they're not going to sound good on their own.
Yeah, well, and a lot of times that odd thing that I do in one of those tracks, a lot of times it's been my favorite part of a backup vocal,
Right.
And so it's where I experiment a lot, and then like I'll go through and I'll clean them up. Like they're not ever the first take, but they're like a, second, third take. I'm not going to do a ton of them, but where I was going to land, and like I said, I wanted to ask the question about that lead vocal. But I mean, I do agree that this song, it asks for that. It's not asking for it to be sung by a group of people. It's one person.
You even mentioned like, oh, I could do that 100 times and it might not get better. So what's your argument for wanting to do them again?
I don't like the way I say started. The fire started.
Brad, that's my absolute favorite part of the song. I'm not kidding.
I know, but I don't like the way this vocal says started.
That is the most intimate part of this song. All the instrumentation drops out, and it's just the kick drum and your vocal, and it's the most emotional part. That's the part that gets me. So I'm going to disagree with you on that. Maybe we can hear from Patrick's hat.
Well, I think he did get slouchy, didn't he? But
leaning back and watching the chaos ensue.
I think 2 minutes on the floor. If I could rebuttal that, it's because of the intense nature of that part and the importance of it. Like it stands out to me more.
I know what you're talking about, because your vocal does a little wiggly thing there. You go started, and to me, it almost adds a little...
And that's what I'm seeing now.
Like a crack almost in the armor of the storyteller.
Yeah. That's the kind of shit I'm always trying to get you to do. Why you complaining about it when you do's it?
This is why we have to have these conversations, because I only see it as a flaw and I didn't see it as actually being a motive.
Yeah, that's an asset.
Your two main vocal tracks there, during that part, you had done what you had mentioned just previously, where you did a little differently, and you'll notice one of the lines, you don't double it, you say a different word under it. You did a couple where you did completely different, and I had to cut and paste one of them up to match the other one. But then there was one word where it's in that part. I don't remember exactly which line, but you just carry one word through the whole thing, like, where the other thing's saying all the syllables and the words. I don't know what I was going with that, but
it's a good point.
You're just talking about how that was really cool, right?
Yeah.
Even though it probably wasn't on purpose.
I just thought that, I think that part's so important to the song. I love that part. In the background vocals, yes, I did put chorus effects on there. I could take those off. You'd probably like it better then. That's an easy fix.
That's all I meant by too produced. They're just a little too whiskey.
That's the only effect I used on, other than reverb in this whole song, and some delays here and there. And the delays are so minor. I wanted to really keep this pretty stark.
Tight.
But yeah, I did put
those
a
drums.
doubling effect on those on the background vocals, and then during that chorus vocals, I took your actual chorus vocals out of the first chorus. There's still the verse background doubles that you have throughout the whole song, and then during the choruses you had a whole nother set of background vocals, which I saved for the second chorus, and they do have an ADT plug-in on there, which is like a modulation thing, and I think we just take that off.
But I was gonna get to that. What I had labeled in the session as the chorus vocals, the ones where it's just like the first and fourth word of each line. Those were kind of important to me just because of the way they accented the chorus. And I liked those in my mix, the way I had them, just because of it gave it like not creepy is not the right word, but just this like airy sort of feel. And they're still there and I like them, but I have to like listen for them. And I guess I hear them more, but I don't feel them as much. Like I feel them more when I close my eyes in the other one. And it might have to do with the effect that's on them or something.
Yeah,
but
I think we take that effect off for sure because it's something that's bugging you, but I do have them pretty low in the mix. You'll notice a lot of your stuff I have pretty low in the mix.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of very subtle things.
And I think that's good. I think overall that's good. That's where they want to be. But I think maybe for the second verse, those come up just a little bit, just because I do like what they do to you, a little bit more. But the only other comment really I had, other than like the big general, which was like, in a lot of what I wrote down, I had written down fairly soon after I first listened to it. And like I told you, like once I listened to it a bunch, I have a completely different view of it, which is the way I know I operate. I have to get it in my system differently and get the other one kind of out. And so I think, I had a statement that I was going to say. Oh, the piano. I think that's the only other comment that I had. I want it to be a real piano because I want it to be what's in this guy's room, right? In his parlor, say.
Are you referencing the end piano now?
No, the beginning, like the first solo one, just the sound of it. I'm basically saying the same thing Patrick said. I don't know why that tone, and I didn't have it very well when I gave it to you.
Have you ever mic'd up your upright in your house?
I have, but it's probably not in tune. It's slightly off, just because it's old.
That might be perfect for this song.
So I can talk about that. Last time we listened, you were really trying to make that first solo in the middle of the song different from the end. And in this mix, what I did, I'm only using like one of your pianos there.
Yeah.
There's one that's also tucked back, but I actually really like it because it's a really hollow and haunting type of sound. And I didn't do anything to it. All the reverb that's on that was you had given it to me that way. I just got rid of the other ones and pulled that one up. And I actually think it's really effective in this like hollowed out, haunting sort of way.
It might just be because I can see the man behind the curtain and I know I know what it is and it's not real. And, so it makes it hard to accept it. But I don't know. That's the only thing. The end I liked. I actually really like a lot. I'm missing a couple notes that I need you to put back in, I think, on the last, like that build-up piano. The very end one where it turns into like two... Yeah. For some reason in this mix, it only goes... Dun, 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 dun. It should go... Dun, 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 dun.
Okay. We're going to take a little break from this episode to do an experiment. Brad says, that his piano goes like this.
Dun, 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 dun.
But he says,
it should go dun, 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 dun.
Now we're going to play both of those together.
Dun, 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 dun.
Okay, let's move along.
Why
Ours
that bothers
goes,
the shit out of me, I don't know exactly.
I didn't do anything to those, man.
I know, but I listened to them side by side. That's No. So yeah, I don't know why that is, but I did go back and I listened to mine, and I'm like, yeah, I put those notes in because I like wrote that part.
Okay, I think I know what you're...
Investigate that. That's the only thing that bothered me.
I think I did some editing because I think it was bothering me because I think they were clashing notes.
Were they?
When I was editing, I was like, those are souring on each other.
And I kind of wanted it to be that way a little bit, like a little bit of a sloppy piano play to get you out. But that's why I added those kind of chord parts to it, because I wanted it to sound a little bit,
So if that's the case, yeah, that'd be an easy thing.
Yeah.
I think I just edited a note out.
Yeah, I think you just got to drag it back a little bit.
As far as arrangement, the only thing I did other than muting things sooner than you had them muted was I did do a copy and paste on that low piano in a couple spots. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, and I liked getting rid of the bass guitar. That was a great move. That needed to just go away, I think.
Well, it's still in there.
Is it really?
Yeah, it comes
just
in.
At the end?
It comes in just a little later. The piano comes in where you had the bass coming in before. The low piano is doing that duty. And then I think by the time we get to the second chorus, the bass guitar is in there.
Okay.
By the end of the song, it's pretty much a full arrangement of what you had, maybe minus one of those electric pianos or two of them.
Right. Yeah, I gave it to you with a lot of shit. The only other, I guess, question that I have, which I don't know the answer to, so call it the bridge or whatever, where it kind of breaks down, and there's those little drum rolls, and then there's the piano that the whole note of the piano rides through to the next one.
Yeah, that wasn't in there. I put that there.
Yeah, and so the only thing that is a debate in my mind is one thing I liked about mine is the silence. Like it takes you immediately to silence.
The silence is now in the next part for the fire in my head.
Yeah.
I think if you drop all that out, that might be too long
much
of a
silence.
dropout for just the silence.
So then if we do that, does the drum roll at the end of those parts, is that too aggressive? Because I put that in there to accentuate sort of the silence that was after, like it does the, and as soon as that snare hit, it was quiet.
Patrick, you had a comment on the snare roll. Why don't you take over on this one?
Well, I liked it better when it emphasized, because I changed the sound of that snare hit a little bit, and I think when that hits, it was like the guillotine.
Guillotine's Isle.
Both.
Is it guacamole?
Rest in peace, Marianne. Yes.
Guacamole?
Guacamole.
Okay. When that comes down, it kind of comes down and just cuts the sound off, and then you sit for 2 beats, and then there's the next thing. So, yeah, what is your comment on that, Patrick?
I don't know if I have anything to add to the conversation. I just really like that part. I mean, I liked it in both versions, but I still think it's really effective in this one.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take my answer off the air.
I don't know. We might have to look at that. Arrangement-wise, like I said, I brought that piano in during that part because I really wanted to emphasize the next part with silence.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll notice one other thing I did add was like a bell.
I like that. Yeah.
When basically you find out when the Lord is taken, you, bing. And I think that is a nice punctuation.
Yeah, I like that part.
And I tucked
Worked
that
equally
down.
as well in Hell's Bells.
Oh, the intro to that is phenomenal.
Jeez.
Somebody
Really
can
gives
do a
you the
mashup
feels.
now.
Right. And For Whom the Bell Tolls also. Same bellist.
Let's talk about the feels a little bit, because now this song, I think, really delivers on the emotion. And I did go back. So Brad, Shanna, and I listened to this. I know she had messaged you.
Yeah, she
I brought
hated
her
it.
down here when I finished it. And she also got very teary-eyed during listening to it. We went back and listened to the premix version. And Patrick, it's funny that you had mentioned like steel drums and Jimmy Buffett.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually one of our comments was like, this kind of sounds like a Jimmy Buffett song, like Margaritaville now with all this stuff throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it kind of, to me, I was like, well, yeah, that sounds a little church servicey or something with all that extra instrumentation.
The Church of Buffett?
Yeah.
Cheeseburger church.
I like mine with wine in the body.
And I just say that not to make you feel bad, just to say that, like, I think the true emotion of this song is in that bare vocal of yours and having the song build more into that full arrangement than before where there was so much throughout the whole thing.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think, like I said, the only thing walking away then that I would probably want to hear, and it doesn't have to be huge, is just I think I will always miss something else coming in with the slide guitars in the beginning. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
I just know that 5 years from now, if I listen to this song, I'll probably be like, oh, that should have had something else to kind of straighten my spine, you know, instead of slowly getting me into it. But that would be my only thing that I'll want to hear. And if we do something and then it comes back and it's not the right thing, we'll take it back out.
I think we should do these tweaks, listen to it again, because we've talked about this for quite a while. Let's work on that first slide guitar part, try to bring some stuff back in. Let's get rid of the chorus effect on the background vocals during the second chorus, maybe bring those up in volume a little bit. Let me look at your end piano for that part you're missing.
Yeah, just a couple notes. Yep.
I can do versions for you with that part with where the piano comes through in the snare drum roll that you were talking about. Maybe try to accentuate that drum roll a little more so it's more of a stop right there.
Yeah, maybe try.
Though I disagree with it, but...
Well, no, that's okay. Like,
I'm bored with this song. Let's move on.
Wait, that's usually where I'm at. I'm tired of hearing this fucking thing. I'm like, I wrote it like 3 weeks ago. Like, I'm done. Tired of being the sad guy.
I think this is going to be an important song for your catalog. I think listeners are going to connect with this. So I think it's important that we do get it done for you on this episode. And I think we could look at the piano sound for Patrick. Like, maybe there's a way I can make that seem less, like, pingy. I don't know, Brad, you said you like that at the end. What are your thoughts on the middle one?
The middle one is the one I was talking about when I was mentioning it. I'm not sure that I'm in love with that sound, but I don't know what it is about it because I think I tried to address it through sounds before, and I was like, well, that's the best piano I have. That's the closest to what we want, you know, because I added all of those sort of acoustic pianos. I can't remember if I had them in or if that was part of a suggestion. So I did a bunch of them, I think, once through the development of this song, I think through the show.
One thing I noticed as I was going through those is those are all the parts you have there. The piano is like in a very high register. It might be worth just doing one in like the lower keys there.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
scaling it down just a little bit.
Yeah, and that's something I could do because I'm sure the MIDI's there. I could just
pull it down
and bring it down an octave and see what that sounds like.
Could try that. I mean, that might work. It might be a little bit too close because I think it's around the middle C range. I don't think
too
it's
close
high.
To the low piano that's already going through it.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. But we can try.
At any rate, we'll look at some of those things because, like I said, I love this song. I think it really delivers the emotion. I mean, all your songs do a really good job at capturing what you're trying to get at. But this one, like I said, I teared up listening to it at some points, and so it really does deliver on that level. And I would love to get it right in this episode before we put
That's
it out.
why I wanted to, like I said, have its conversations, which I just had a lot of questions.
But you like it.
I love it. No, I don't. Like I said, I'm glad that we've determined, and it took a long time to determine that I need time because I don't like the blindsidedness of it. And when you first sent it, I was like, I don't know. But I know enough about myself through this show now that I'm like, okay, like give it some air. Let's listen to it a few times. And then.
And you knew it would be torture to not tell me anything, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, because you really liked it. But besides me being a nice guy, I'm going to serve the song first, Wade. But I do think all of your decisions were correct. They're a lot closer to where the song wants to be than where I gave it to you. I know I gave it to you with a whole bunch of stuff in it. Mm-hmm. I know why I do my vocal stuff, but
yeah, I want to always make clear that I don't do this because I'm like, oh, I know better.
It's the song.
I'm just always trying to serve the song for you because I love them so much. Like all the songs that I wouldn't be doing this, if I didn't care about it all.
No, I know.
So I don't ever want you to feel like, oh, he's stepping all over me. And like, I mean, you always can tell me, when you give me a song, just like, this is it, just mix it. But
I don't think I'll ever do that unless it's something that's just bare bones, because you have a separate passion, which is the mixing and the mastering and completing and arranging and doing all that. My biggest passion, what I love to do the most is just creating, so I love to just put things down. And if I hear something, I'm going to put it in, and then I'm going to figure out a way to squeeze it. We've talked about it ad nauseum. Like, it's not always the right thing, but it's, if I'm not done with that song, I'm just going to keep doing shit to it.
And you guys are all I've got right now, because I can't seem to wite any lyrics whatsoever for any of my songs. So the only way I get a mixing fix is with you guys.
Party. So, we should start a Mad Libs, right? Where we each say a word. And then
that's actually would be a really fun thing to do.
What are one of those? Yeah, those like improvisational exercises.
Oh God, we're gonna start an improv troupe.
Yeah, where I just go and Wade does the next word, Patrick does the next word, then we keep going.
Here's the deal: you're a proctologist on the subway.
The butthole looks good to me.
I think we've got a plan on this song, so
I'm gonna write that in a chart one day.
Yeah,
butthole looks good to me.
We good?
Yeah.
All right, we've got a plan. We're going to jump to the future. When we come back, we will have tweaked. And this time really will be a back and forth between Brad and I to get this figured out. So
I think we're close. We're extremely close.
Good. Leave me out of your fight.
Well, like what always happens is I give it to you in one extreme. You take it to another extreme, and then usually somewhere in the middle, or I think in this case, it's going to be a lot closer to a lot closer to your version of it is the done version. There's just a couple things I want to get back into it. That's all.
Cool. Let's do it.
Cool.
Set course.
To the future!
All right, we are back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Talking about Brad's song. Brad, we need to get this...
Talking about Brad's song, Brad's song. Talking about Brad's song, Brad's song. Talking about Brad's song.
Thanks for that.
Good Lord.
I want you to know I appreciate you.
Brad, what's this song called?
Oh, fuck. I don't know yet.
We got to figure this out. We can't leave this episode without figuring this out.
I thought about so many other things for this song, like your edit here and everything.
You might as well just call it phone demo.
I never even thought about the title. Fuck.
Brad song, Brad song, Brad song, Brad song, Brad song.
That's not the song.
Oh, yeah, about Brad song.
Brad song.
I'm going to have to listen to it again. Actually, let me get the lyrics down.
This kid's listened to it 1,000 times.
Oh, more than that.
We're about to listen to it here in a minute, so just hold on.
Keep your pants on.
So, last time we did listen to it, we talked for quite a while afterwards and came up with a little list of things to do to it. So I spent some time doing some tweaks on this song, sent it to Brad. He's given it the okay. So what I did was address that intro part where the slide guitar comes in, added some more elements back into there per Brad's request, because he likes to kind of give a sneak peek of what's coming in the song early. And so I did that. I took the chorus and modulation effect off all the background vocals, and then I raised them overall in volume. I looked at that snare roll part towards the end of the song and did a bigger drop out there.
I could really go for a snare roll and some coffee right now.
Oh, you're not kidding.
Let's see, what else did I do? Okay, and then another thing which took most of my time as I was working on this was address those solo parts. Because both of you had comments about, especially Patrick, about those taking you out of the song, kind of sounding like a steel drum. And Brad, you didn't care for the middle solo part. So I did work on those, and we can talk about what I did after that. And then I tried to find the note at the end of the song that you were talking about, Brad, in the piano, and I don't know if I did or not, but I found something that wasn't there, and I put it back in.
Look what I found under Mommy's bed.
We can discuss. I think you did a good job. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. So you guys ready? Let's listen to this.
One more time. It's like an old friend.
Hear, hear.
When the city divides, I will wait for you with all I have strapped to my back, like my father before. I will take a new name, one that suits me more, carries less shame. I look forward to days that don't end in tears. My whole world is you. I see clear. I can see us now in the home we made with our bare hands, and those of our friends. We sit on the porch, talk about how far we've come, the thoughts we had. We decided to run. I look forward to days that aren't filled with fear. The light that I would tell, they could get me out of here. Oh, I'll never forget when I knew that the Lord had taken you, and wouldn't see it through. Then a fire started in my head. and all of the dreams I had, and all that's left are the ashes of me and you.
Oh, God.
What's going on over
We
there?
lost him.
Are we good?
Just throwing shit around. Just knocked my coffee cup off the desk, that's all. Luckily
guess-
it was empty.
Yes, we are good.
We'll fix it in post.
Oh, no, that's staying in. All right. Patrick, you're the one who hasn't heard this yet.
This is the mix. It's perfect. It's perfect. I caught some new elements that may have been there before, but they just came through a lot more. There's some reverb that came through on Brad's vocals after the drum roll piece that really stood out, and I think I made the comment that I wanted that to come up a little bit more, and that sounds great. I love the drum roll part even more now. The piano sounds much better. In fact, I got those last few notes in the song, the upper piano really comes through and puts an exclamation mark on the song. This is exactly where this song needs to be. So congratulations on you both. This I heart this song.
Cool. Brad, let's get your thoughts.
I'm gonna echo what he said. I love this mix. This version is somebody who, like we said, I've listened to this song 10,000 times in probably 4 or 5 different ways, right? So the versions of them now. This is the one we were looking for, I think, the whole time. This is the reason we do the show, is I gave this thing to you in a certain way. You guys helped me fine-tune it. And then, Wade, with this mix, you really did, like, you took my ideas that I wanted to do, the things I was missing from your version, and you incorporated them and blended them with your ideas in, like, the most perfect way. So that part at the end of the song is exactly what I was missing. It was kind of like just like a hand smacking on the piano.
Yeah.
Right. That's the part Patrick is commenting
Is liking.
on.
Yeah.
It's so good how this song terminates.
And that's what I was missing on that previous version. As I was like, I hear the notes are there, everything's there, but I really wanted to smack the piano.
You know how there's some songs that leave you wanting more, like they've got a catchy hook and you're just like, I could listen to this 5 times in a row. And then there's songs that overextend their welcome. This one is perfectly in the middle. This is a story arc. You feel it all the way through now. There's no lulls, and it ends with a perfect roll the credits. I mean, it's absolutely spot on in my mind. And the other thing that I know I talked about before earlier in this episode, but there's elements in music that grip me that are sometimes surprising to people who either casually listen to music or listen to other elements, but it's the bass piano in this particular song that just hits me so hard and makes me instantly fall in love with the song, is not having a bass guitar really drive the rhythm, but this is drums and bass piano, which I think is really cool in a rock or pop song, whatever we're calling this thing. I couldn't be more excited for this song.
That end piano, and with some of the other pianos, I took your MIDI and used it with a different piano like plugin that I had that I haven't tried yet and didn't even know I had, but it came with the Arturia V collection that I just upgraded, and it came with a piano, and it sounds pretty good. and there's like a ton of different pianos you can choose from. So I played around a little bit trying to find one that fit the song, and then kind of replaced a couple of yours, because a lot of yours, you had a lot of electric pianos, and they all had that in the high register, and it was giving me that pingy quality that Patrick, you were saying, kind of took you out as a steel drum-ish. But even this one, when I replaced it and put it back into the song, it still kind of had that. And so what I had to start doing was taking out other elements, find out what is giving in this quality. And it was like an accumulation of a bunch of different things that were going on at the same time, especially in that middle part. There was a slide guitar, and then you had some other acoustic guitar parts that were all in that higher register, and combined, like the piano really didn't sound, it sounded like a piano on its own. Yeah. But then when you added all this other stuff on top of it, it was given that steel drum quality. Yeah. So I had to not only replace the piano with a more fitting piano sound for the song, but I also had to pull down a lot of the other elements to take away from that sharpness. And then I also, I don't know if you noticed, but I played piano chords behind both of those parts, both of those solo parts. Yep. I played low piano chords just to weight it down a little more.
That's what it needed. Yep. I did notice that.
Its britches.
I did notice that, and it's weird to explain because we didn't like the tone of the piano because it was too low, but the whole thing felt like it was empty. You know, like usually if you have something in a low tone, it fills it out a little bit, but it was very thin, you know, sounding. And I think you really did a great job of finding the one combination, right, that needed to work in that part. Because, yeah, I don't know that all those guitars and stuff being up, they didn't need to be there, really. You know, it was really the piano, you know.
Yeah, like I said, the piano didn't have the quality. It was just a combination of all that stuff that gave it that. And then adding the chords, I think, anchored it down a little more.
Yep. So, yeah, kudos.
Cool. Yeah, that snare roll, too, Brad, that was a great suggestion to cut that off more.
I missed that silence,
and then,
total drop.
Patrick, you mentioned the reverb carrying through. That's actually reverb from the snare that I brought up. In that spot. That took me a while to get right because I couldn't just cut everything off. It sounded too stark.
Yeah.
And it was a game of me finding which elements to pull back and fade out and what the right spot to fade them out is. So there's some guitars in the piano that bleed into that a little bit, but I had to really play with the fades, the shapes of the fades, and where they ended so it just didn't sound like it all dropped off. And then raise that reverb up and everything just to give it a natural end without like cutting off.
Yeah.
And I think that worked really well.
No, that was really well executed. That was the part that I was anxious to hear the most, I think, because I did like the two going in. And then when I started thinking about it, it's like, oh, I hope he doesn't do that with every one of them. Because I just wanted it to be the third one, you know, because I liked the funeral bell or whatever that you put in there. And I liked the piano, the low whole note piano riding through the first two.
Yeah, because that wasn't in there originally for yours.
Yeah, you did that. And then I liked that addition, but I didn't like it before the sort of end of the song. I liked the finite sort of, I think I explained it as like a guillotine, right? Like a shut it off and then it starts back up. So I think that was really well executed and worth the work for that.
Cool. So I've got a list of titles here I wrote down as we listen to that.
All right, yeah, let's hear them.
Did you guys do that?
I have like
I got like 10 of them here.
So. I have like one or two in my head, and I'd like to hear what yours are.
I still only have the one that I
wrote down 8 of them. So I'll go down the list here.
Do we get to vote?
Yes.
Maybe.
Write them down as we go. So, Cities Divide. All I Have. New Name. New World. Old World. The Homes We Make. Worlds Apart, which I had sent to you guys before.
Yep.
And The Ashes of Me and You.
Yep.
The Ashes could also just be.
Yeah, I was riding on The Ashes of Me and You for a minute, and then I was going to I'll Never Forget When I Knew for a minute, which is long. I like The Cities Divide, but I think maybe just go with the whole line, When the City Divides.
Well, that's good.
What I was thinking.
I would vote for that.
Yeah, and actually, like, the line I wrote is "When this city divides," but I sang it "When the city divides." But any of those I'm okay with. That one I think resonates with me the most, and I do that a lot. I'll just take the first lyric of the song and make it the title. But
yeah, I think the city divides is good, or the cities divide.
Well, what do you think?
When the city
divides.
Go for it. Lock it in. Right.
I'm not a big fan of the new name, New World.
Yeah,
I just think of like
favorite. I was just like blasting them out.
I know, yeah, you just got to spit them out. But those are.
I recommended Transcontinental, and I don't like that one either. It sounds too much like a Moody Blues song.
Yeah. Like I wanted the title of this one to fit sort of the era that it was positioned, and I think when the city divides is cities don't divide a lot anymore, so it already takes you back a little bit. So maybe that's the title.
Oh man!
and I also I like that better than like the Ashes, because you don't want to reveal the story's end in the title. I think you want to explain what it's coming.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just do that. Fuck it. This is the book closing.
Move it off my desk.
And it's over.
All right. Well, this song is done then. And with that, we are also done with this episode.
Thank Christ.
Which means now we're going to get out of here. But first, we're going to talk about a couple things like our Patreon account, where you can now support Belonging Songs if you so choose. You can visit patreon.com and search Belonging Songs. You'll find us, and by doing so, gain access to our new podcast called What We're Listening To. And we're having a lot of fun doing that. Yeah, so I'd like to thank those who have already done so and become patrons. We have 2 patrons so far, and they are my wife and my sister. So I have managed to milk my family to help with this project, even though
just been
they already
my
helped
family
so
Amway
much.
And vitamins.
My sister also made us, I think we've mentioned this once before, a bunch of Whyte Spydrz art prints, which are super awesome, and I'll probably put those up for Patreon subscribers. And if you want one of those and subscribe to our Patreon account, we could send those to you for doing so.
You got to get on that if you're not on it. Fun show, right? Well, I'll talk about what we're listening to, how it influences us, running the gamut.
We always agree on all of the music.
Always agreeing on all the music, as you could expect.
Yeah, it reminds us once again why the hell we're friends, and it just these are the only 3 people that like each other.
It's fun. It's fun. A lot of hot dog talk. It's good shit.
And if you'd rather not join Patreon, which is totally fine, you could tell your friends about this podcast and like and subscribe wherever you listen, because that would really help us grow an audience, which we are very much hoping to do this season. So please do that. If you listen in iTunes or Apple Podcasts, you can scroll down, leave us a 5-star rating. Also, leave us a review. It doesn't have to be long or anything, elaborate. You could just say,
it doesn't even
cool
have to be a good one. I'd just like to read a new review.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been a while. You can listen to all of our songs, minus us talking about them, on our Spotify playlist, link in the episode description, along with all the other links to our Patreon and things. Visit our website. The songs are also on there. You can listen to the demo versions and the finished versions, and also contact us on the forums page. Check out our Instagram page, Belonging Songs. You see pictures of our stickers.
We have stickers.
Thank you. This podcast has been produced by Satellite Chicken Sound Lab. If you or anyone you know needs help producing a podcast, go to satellitechicken.com. That's going to do it for this edition of Belonging Songs. Thank you for joining us.
Hold on. Uncle Dave has taken all the loaves of bread in the house and taken out the crust ends. Every single loaf of bread.
Is he a bird feeder? Does he take them down to the court and feed pigeons?
It's classic Dave.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. It's just frustrating.
I get pissed because he makes those ding-dong eggs, and he leaves the little round piece of bread just next to the stove.
Yeah.
Just sitting there. It's the size of a jar lid. I'm like, why are you fucking just eat that? I have no idea what he's doing. All over town.
Well, he made a bologna sandwich the other day on a hot dog bun because that's all we had around.
Well, no, you should take those middles of the bread that are already round, and those are like perfect bologna sandwich size now.
They're perfect.
Exactly.
They're perfect. Or you make another egg and you put them on that sandwich, and then it's like 2 egg sandwiches kind of thing. It's fucking perfect.
Yeah, we can sell those on our Patreon. Anyway, I just noticed he was into the bread again. He doesn't close them back up and they get stale.
Yeah, they get all stale. Yep. Okay, with that, we're going to get out of here, and we will see you here again next week.
Yeah, it's good. Boom, done. Next.